Hello, friends. I'm Eric Hutchinson. I'm the principal broker and owner of Hutchinson Realty. Welcome to video 10 of my video series, How to Buy a Home in Northwest Arkansas. I hope you'll go back and watch the other videos in the series and catch up to where we are today, because we have talked about a lot of interesting topics. We have talked about financing and the difference between a conventional loan and a government loan. We have talked about home warranties. We have talked about earnest money and what the difference between earnest money and a non-refundable deposit and which one can benefit you in negotiating your next home. We have talked about contingencies. What does it mean when you have a house to sell before you can buy your next home? Do you use a contingency with escape clause or without an escape clause? And what does that mean? We also talk about home inspections and whether or not you should buy a home as is and what that means. So lots of interesting topics. Today is no different. We're going to be talking about a thing called third-party requirements. We're going to be looking at item number 17 on the Arkansas real estate contract, and we're going to be talking about what does it mean whenever a third party makes a requirement on the transaction that we are trying to close. What is a third party? Well, if there is a lender for the buyer involved in the transaction, that's a third party. If there's a termite and control company, that's a third party. If there is an appraisal, that is a third party. So we're going to be looking at how that third party can require things to be done on our transaction. So we're going to be looking at that. We're going to go to page number 8 on the Arkansas real estate contract in item number 17. Now, it's a fairly lengthy paragraph, so I'm going to paraphrase. It basically defines what a third party is, and it names the termite and control company, it names a creditor or a lender, and it talks about how those entities can require repairs on the property. For instance, you may be all the way through a home inspection and think, man, we got through that. The seller has agreed to all the repairs. We're good to go. But then a week before closing, the appraiser goes out and goes, you know what? There's some chipping paint on the deck, and we are going to require, because it's a VA or an FHA loan, that you scrape the deck and paint it. Well, who pays for that? What does that mean? Can we not get a loan if we have repairs that are required by the lender? Well, that would be correct. We need to take care of those repairs that the lender is requiring. Now, if you are getting a conventional loan, normally there aren't repair requirements from a conventional loan, but a government loan is much more strict. So if you are getting a VA loan, an FHA loan, or a rural development loan, we call that RD, then sometimes they will require repairs, especially on an older house. They can require insulation be put in a pier and beam flooring. They can require a new roof. They can require double pane windows. There's all kinds of things that a government loan can require. That's a third party requirement. Now, according to this paragraph, the seller has 5 business days to respond to any of those requirements. Now, the seller is not required to take care of those, and they can say, we're not going to pay for those repairs. And if the buyer has enough money, they can pay for those repairs. But normally the seller takes care of those because they don't want to lose the deal. And usually if a buyer is going a government loan, it's because they don't have a lot of disposable income. So usually the seller will take care of the repairs, but every now and then the seller goes, nope, I'm not going to take care of it. And if in that event, the buyer can either move forward and take care of the repairs themselves, or they can terminate the real estate contract. It clearly states in this paragraph that if the buyer and the seller cannot come to terms on the repairs and who pays for those repairs, that the contract may be terminated and both buyer and seller can be released from that liability. So that's what third-party requirements are. My recommendation is that you talk to your lender. If a loan is involved, you talk to your lender about what possible third-party requirements could there be. What is the appraiser going to be looking at? Those are really important things, because you don't want to be a week before closing and the appraiser put on some requirements that has to be done before you close and then the deal fall through. That would be horrible. So I will also tell you that on new construction, and we'll talk about this when we talk about the new construction contract, but sometimes an appraiser will come in and go, hey, the stove has not been installed properly, or you know what, there's something that's not working properly. I checked the heating and air, whatever. Sometimes appraisers, if it's a government loan, will check that new construction house out a little bit. It's not a full-blown inspection, but they will go through and make sure that the main systems are working, and they may require something to be finished by the builder, but you would want that finished before you close. So that's what third-party requirements are. I hope that makes sense to you. I know that there are usually lenders involved in a real estate contract. Now, if there is cash involved, then, I mean, if it's a cash contract, then there won't be usually a third-party requirements. However, there could be a termite and control company that comes out and says, hey, you've got termites, and they may require, in order to get a termite policy, they may require some repairs. And even in a cash deal, the buyer can say, I'm not going to close unless the seller takes care of it. And then you've got the negotiating of those third-party requirements. The thing that you need to take note of is that the third-party requirements does not have to take place in the 10 business days allowed in the home inspection that we talked about in a previous video. So third-party requirements can come down to almost a few days before closing. That's why it's really important that you talk to your lender, or you get those third parties involved as soon as you can to make sure there's not going to be any hangups before closing. So I hope this has been good information for you. You can always reach out to me at info@hutchrealty.com. You can visit our website at hutchrealty.com, where you can view every listing in Northwest Arkansas or get a free home evaluation. No matter what, I wish you the very best. I hope you'll go back and watch some of our other videos so that you can get caught up. But may God bless you, and may God bless your home.